there is a bill in Olympia that to me is the beginning of what I think will be the regular weaponization of taxes to further a democratic ideology in Olympia. And I truly can't, I can't believe this. So the Senate bill is 5767, and it has like a dozen Democratic sponsors. So this isn't just one Democrat in Olympia going off on their own, just willy-nilly saying, oh, here, let me propose this crazy thing. So a little bit of background here. There's been this fight over the capital gains tax that Democrats pushed through in Olympia for years. And that came to a head when the Washington State Supreme Court just a few days ago ruled that no, the capital gains tax, which is the tax on things like the sale of stocks and bonds, is not an unconstitutional income tax. They say it's an excise tax, when every other state in the union and the IRS say, no, a tax on capital gains is an income tax. So to me, this just opens the floodgates for what Democrats really want to do is they want to tax income. They say our tax structure is backward, which I agree with. I do agree with the notion that the poorest people bear this larger burden of the percentage of their income when it comes to taxes, because they're paying a sales tax and a gas tax at the same rate to buy something, to fill up their car, that they are someone who's very, very wealthy. But I don't think the way to go about fixing it is to tax rich people more, while at the same time not alleviating the tax burden on the poor in the slightest. I think the way to fix it is to take less money from people. But that's not what Democrats want to do. And so I think the state Supreme Court ruling is only going to embolden them. And we are now seeing that with Senate Bill 5767. And I want to read from this for you. And I'm going to read a good chunk of it, because I truly want you to understand the insanity of it. So they say that this is an act relating to funding healthcare access by imposing an excise tax on the annual compensation paid to certain highly compensated hospital employees. So before I read this entire passage of the bill for you, and you can go back to it, Nicole, before I read the entire passage of the bill for you, I will just say, in summary, they want to go after hospitals that are paying their executives too much, in their estimation, too much in their opinion, and use it to fund healthcare access. So it reads, intent. The legislature finds that Washington state has many competing and important public service needs, including meaningful access to a more robust and affordable healthcare system. With abundant wealth concentrated in specific sectors among particular companies and individuals, there is a need to prioritize and direct financial resources to those most vulnerable in need of health care. Washingtonians depend on our nonprofit hospitals to care for our loved ones during their greatest times of need. It goes on to read, the legislature further finds that some nonprofit hospitals find themselves with large revenues and inflated administrative salaries, but fail to fulfill their fundamental responsibilities to the communities they are meant to serve. This neglect of their duties, including failure to offer essential reproductive health services, provide safe working conditions to frontline staff and care for our most vulnerable populations, while simultaneously engaging in excessive compensation of top earners, erodes trust in the healthcare system. It goes on to read, and I'll just read you this final paragraph. The legislature intends to expand access to affordable health care by controlling healthcare administrative costs through a tax on excess compensation paid by hospitals. This additional revenue will provide funding to increase Washingtonians' access to health care, including funding programs that advance health equity and expand access to reproductive care. So Democrats in Olympia are proposing an excise tax on the salaries of hospital executives that they believe are overcompensated. They're calling it excess compensation, as if it is the job of politicians to decide what excess compensation truly means. So they are proposing an excise tax of 7.5% on those high earners at hospitals. This should freak everyone out, regardless of political party. That you could have a politician in Olympia who doesn't like what you do for a living, who thinks you're making a little bit too much money, who maybe doesn't like the sector that you're working in, and they are going to thread an income tax, and that's what this is, specifically targeted at you, specific to you. What's stopping them from proposing another bill next session that targets your industry, that targets your compensation, that puts a tax on you? This is not only, like I said, I believe, a weaponization of our tax system for political purposes and political gain. Because again, they're saying that this is about using that money and the taxes collected from these overcompensated, excessively paid hospital executives to fund reproductive health care, to fund health care equity. So not only can they do this, they think they can do this. They can just say, hey, we don't like how much that person's being paid. We don't like how much money they're making. So let's specifically assign a tax to them that nobody else gets. So if they can do this, they can do it to anyone. Democrats are really embarking on this slippery slope where if you give into this, the tax on capital gains, now that's legalized. You give into this, we're going to make sure hospitals aren't paying their executives too much, and if they are, we're going to penalize them. We're going to use that money for reproductive health care, for health equity. You allow that. What is next? And again, I would also point out that they're not alleviating the tax burden on anyone. I don't see proposals from Democrats to alleviate the tax burden on the poor. They're just trying to tax people who are rich because they have this vendetta against people who have done well. And that is a very odd thing. This is dangerous, and it is the weaponization of taxes, and we should all absolutely be opposed to it.